Hello, I'm Professor Brothers, and I'm going to do a quick video on the Agile Design Process. This is for ECE Design Fundamentals. Overview. After this video, you're going to be able to understand the Agile Design Process and implement it for your project work. The outline, we're going to look at how it was handled before Agile, the manifesto for Agile software development, the team members on an Agile project, and the Agile process itself. We're going to start off to say what happened before Agile. How'd they do it before? Before, they used mostly what was called the Waterfall Process. In the Waterfall Process, at the very top, you had one team that would develop the requirements. This was usually a team of system engineers. They would then throw those requirements over the fence to the developers. The developers would design and develop it. Then it was thrown to the implementation team, who would actually then build the hardware. That was then thrown over the fence again to the testers, and finally thrown down to the maintenance people who were out in the field and would actually run it and keep it running. You can see the problem with this. There were a lot of teams and they all did their own job, but they didn't work well together. So Agile was designed to create that interaction between the teams, where it's a process that includes all of the different team members in one process. The Agile Manifesto. So they wanted to come up with a new process, and anyone who has worked in industry for a while can pick out some key language in this manifesto where the people that were involved in this were tired of doing things the same way and running up against the same obstacles. So individuals and interactions over processes and tools, working software over documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiations, responding to change over following a plan. The waterfall method was very rigid. It was set all based on requirements and contract negotiations. And once the process was flowing, if anything changed, it was very rigid. It was very hard to change anything. So the Agile process was developed in order to break that gridlock. Now, it's saying that the right-hand items were needed, but the left-hand items were more valuable, and they wanted to focus on the things that were on that side of the screen. In Agile, one of the ways that they did that, they made people more important. They only have 3 roles. The first role is the product owner, then we have the Scrum Master, and then the development team members. The development team members, this was everybody who was actually doing development. Might be programmers, electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, testers, human factor engineers. They're all a member of the development team. So in that, they already started tearing down walls by saying everybody's a team member. Then the Scrum Master says it's a helpful, supportive team leader to help plan the work and break work into manageable tasks. So a lot of what we're doing in junior design is trying to understand how to take one big problem, break it down into smaller and smaller and smaller tasks, so you can give those tasks to an individual or a single development team and have them accomplish that. That's one of the main things that the Scrum Master is doing. The product owner represents the customer. And so the product owner is looking to make sure that what is being built actually is what the customer wants, as opposed to what is in the contract. So here's an overview of the Agile process. So you start on this side with the customer needs that flows down through the product owner, and through that, the requirements are created. This is the product backlog. These are all the things that we have to do in order to create this overall project. Then you take that product backlog and say, what are we going to do first? And so then you create a sprint backlog and you start going through this sprint process. Really fast cycle times, 1 to 4 weeks. We usually like to, especially in the class, lean more towards a 1-week sprint. And every day you'll go through a 15-minute stand-up meeting. If this were an actual company, you might do only your stand-up meetings maybe once or twice a week. But you get the team together and make sure you're on the same page. And then you track your progress as you go through the sprint. at the end of it, you deliver something, and then you have a meeting to look at how the sprint went, what you need to do next, what you accomplished, what you didn't accomplish, and why. That's the retrospective. Okay, so that's an overview of the entirety of the sprint process. And then once you do this, you go back and you continue to sprint. A large part of this are action items that have to be completed. All of them are called the product backlog. And these are all the to-do actions that have to be completed in order to create this product. Then you have the sprint backlog. Those are the things you're currently doing that week. What is being done? A lot of times you can have a Scrum Board. This is an example of a Scrum Board. One of my bosses at a prior job, one wall of his office was covered with sticky notes. And we would have a meeting, stand-up meeting in his office, and we'd move sticky notes around on the wall. So it can be very, very, very simple, such as sticky notes on a wall, or there are software packages that you can buy that will help you organize the to-do action items. Keeping track of where you're at, keeping organized. This is one of the biggest parts to the Agile process. Now, you go in sprints. Sprints are very short. Like I said, for this class, usually about 1 week, never longer than 1 month. So in order to go into this, you take the entirety of the product backlog that's on the far side of the screen. You look at what you're going to accomplish that week. You have a planning meeting, a daily Scrum meeting, very quick meeting. And this could be a virtual meeting. It could be however you accomplish this, and make sure everybody's on the same page and coordinate between who needs to work together that day or that time period in order to accomplish what needs to be done. And so you do daily sprints while you're running through, or daily Scrum meetings, stand-up meetings, while you're running through that sprint. Then at the end, you have a sprint review to see what you've done. And then at the last thing you do as you're putting it out is a sprint retrospective. And this is usually a larger level meeting with the people as you are putting the product out and showing what has been done and what is yet to be done. So if you think back to the manifesto, they said, instead of being entrenched in a huge process, we want a very lightweight process. This is it. It's basically how you run 1 week at a time in order to get to the end goal. So let's reflect on this a little bit. How can you use the Agile design process for your project? More than that, how can you use the Agile design process for your engineering career, for your college career, for your personal life? What are the goals that you want to accomplish? This is an organizational method. It doesn't just apply to software, or it doesn't just apply to engineering. What parts of the process do you think will be most beneficial? You don't have to use the entire process. You can pull out some of the things that you think would be really beneficial for your team in getting it going and put those together. So you can have the full Agile process, or you can have a stripped down version for your team. What's the most beneficial for you? All right, that's it for me. Look for some more videos on the Agile process.